listening to Radio New Vegas, your little jukebox in the Mojave Wasteland. I am Mr. New Vegas, and I'm here for you. We've got some news for you coming right up.
Shinji 1, this is Shinji 1, the voice of Snordor. This is Shinji 1 making an emergency broadcast on all open channels. This is Shinji 1. We are under siege. We are being exposed to bad opinions. The second Andor video has hit the recommended feed. The TL Jaded Inquisition of Snordor has begun. There are hundreds of comments this moment. As I say these words, hundreds of Snordor fans are keck reacting Star Wars Theory, asking him to finish Season 2. Thousands more on the live streams. More every minute. We're being annoyed. This is Snordor reaching out for any open channel that can hear me. If you can hear me, if you believe in good writing, if you have any faith in quality storytelling, please, mark this message and pass it forward. This is cringe. The filter built this discourse. They made this discourse and led us to laughter. Now they expect us to cope without knowing why. The conspiracy we feared is real. It's here today. Inquisition videos have landed all across YouTube. If there is anyone out there, please, ignore them, and move on.
Hi everybody.
Hi.
My name is Shandy, and I was a good deputy inspector. That Andor, huh? Pretty good, wasn't it? Well, you are wrong. It's never been good. It's only ever been a boring mess that drags too long and costs too much. How dare you suggest that this is the best thing since The Empire Strikes Back? This isn't real Star Wars. Don't you know that anything out of Disney has been and will always be unfiltered dog dookie?
Do not support Disney under any fucking circumstances at all. Just disconnect from them entirely and join me in trashing in on this. It's like, and if you think I'm toxic, then you're a pussy and die.
I'm sorry. I don't know what just came over me. I actually thought the show was pretty good, as did many of you. But some of you have had some very silly things to say. And while I would like to individually grab each and every one of you and kinda just, logistically speaking, that's a little out of my reach for now. So instead, what I will be doing is having a look at someone that I've covered on this channel before. That's right, folks. Robothead's done it again. This is a sequel, and if you're interested in checking out the first video, the link will be in the description. But long story short, Robothead made a pretty terrible video on Andor Season 1. It was misinformed, badly argued, and generally just putrid slop content. And wouldn't you know it, he did it 2 more times. And we will be covering both videos this time around instead of just the one, because I didn't hate myself enough already. A link to each video will be provided so people can check to see if context was missed or would like to verify statements I have provided. And as always, if you do decide to visit these videos, please do not go in with the express intent of spreading vitriol or harassing him.
Behave.
Also, if this is the kind of stuff you like to sit down and listen to in the background while you play a game or do some light chores, then please do consider subscribing, liking the video, and maybe dropping a comment to help out with the algorithm. A lot of work goes into making these videos, so you'd be doing me a solid favor. Cheers. Now, let's suffer together. Why don't we?
The slightly anticipated Andor Season 2 is here.
What a remarkably interesting way to open your video. It's like me saying the hardly anticipated Robothead coverage of Andor Season 2 is here. It would technically be correct, but it would also depend on who you ask. I understand that from a numbers perspective, Andor's viewership numbers weren't that high compared to every other Star Wars show except The Acolyte. There are a few reasons for this. One of them is that the show was coming hot off the heels of Obi-Wan Kenobi, a show which left a remarkably smelly taste on a lot of people's mouths. Another was that Season 1 released around the same time that a lot of other high-profile shows were, all of which garnered more attention and viewership than just another Star Wars show. However, if we were to compare the reviews of each Star Wars series, Andor is significantly better received, so these people would be ecstatic to finally have something worth watching again. A point of worthwhile comparison to make is that Andor as a piece of media seems to be sticking around in the collective public memory far longer and far more consistently than the majority of other Star Wars projects have. Every few months you'll see it gain traction with people reciting their favorite scenes and explaining why it was meaningful to them. If it were Mando, at best it would be about how cool it looked in Season 1. Very rarely is there anyone praising any single aspect of the writing quality, so yeah, the slightly anticipated Andor Season 2 is here, and for a lot of us we couldn't wait to see more. Funnily enough, during the writing of this video, the Nielsen streaming viewership numbers for the first 3 episodes of Andor Season 2 were released. According to this chart, there was almost 100 million more minutes watched compared to the first 3 episodes of Season 1. So, as it turns out, the show was actually a little anticipated, at least enough to crack the top 4 most watched TV shows in the United States. If I were to look at this chart, Andor was the highest viewed show on Disney Plus for May 21st, though it seems very likely that it maintained that number or was at least in the top 5 for a good chunk of time. It also turns out that due to the massive success of Andor Season 2, Rogue One ended up being the most viewed film on Disney Plus at some point before people started watching Lilo and Stitch in prep for the next big live-action disappointment. So, yeah.
And not in my wildest dreams would I think that the biggest talking point out of the first 3 episodes would be,
"He tried to rape me."
Really? Because I did. Not even in my wildest dreams, which tend to be reserved exclusively for first-person parkour races against the Arbiter and Snuggle struggling with oddly attractive vampire zombie woman. You really didn't expect that a sect of the Star Wars audience, most infamously known for complaining about how certain features in Andor don't fit the Star Wars vibes or aesthetic, would be complaining about this being added to their incredibly child-friendly space Nazi show? Where have you been, man?
So Disney is stacking the weekly viewing numbers by releasing 3 episodes at a time. Each 3 episodes is meant to contain its own arc, and then we jump forward a year for the next 3 episodes leading up to the events in Rogue One.
So it might be the cadence in your voice making you sound generally annoyed with everything you do or say, or it might be my bias towards you as someone who is generally annoyed at everything you do or say. Either way, you've made a point about something and then don't do any work to elaborate on your points or explain why the change was made or why you think it was a good or bad change. You say it's simply to stack viewership numbers, but don't consider that it may also be because releasing each arc as one contained story before moving on to the next may help the general audiences stay invested for longer without going days before seeing the next episode. It's a method that has been used successfully in the past with something like Arcane, which is known for releasing 3 episode arcs at a time, retaining audience members each week due to the building anticipation. This is a method which very likely would have been successful for Season 1 considering the structure of that show worked within a 3 to 4 episode system. Binging content is also an incredibly popular method of consuming media, which is likely something that was taken into account. I'm personally very happy with this change, as it makes viewing each arc feel like watching a well-made film rather than an episode of TV. Releasing an arc a week instead of all at once helps keep the show relevant in the public sphere for longer due to discussions being held consistently for 4 weeks instead of 1 before they move on to the next thing. I don't even need to talk about this segment for that long, considering Season 1 dropped all of the first 3 episodes of its first arc in one go as well, before releasing each subsequent episode one at a time each week. Them doing this is already established. So, what's the problem?
I will never understand why the most boring character,
Why is he boring?
played by a guy with 0 charisma
Why does he have 0 charisma?
and 1 expression, was chosen to helm this series. But this is where we are, so let's move on.
Are you joshing me, dude? You can't even be bothered to explain why you are wrong? I mean, I like talking, but I also appreciate it when there is something for me to respond to, when there is a point that is made with any level of effort that isn't just, dude, trust me. It's not even correct in the clip you are using. For context, Cassian is on a covert mission to steal a new prototype TIE fighter for the rebellion. He has been trained to fly a specific ship in order to make this mission possible, and is currently in the process of stealing the ship. However, upon entering the TIE fighter, he comes to the horrifying discovery that he does not know how to fly it. Controls are reversed, stations are split apart. The chair even has to untuck itself so he can sit down. And while I do appreciate that Euphoria reference, it does make Cassian incredibly nervous as he tries learning how to fly the ship in real time. You can see this in the clip you used, as he is visibly shown panicking, or in other words, showing a different expression to his usually stoic appearance. I'd argue that the fact he's predominantly shown as composed, stoic, or intense gives credence to his performance here, as he shows an emotion we don't typically see from him. We see him changing his expressions over time in the scene as he gains more confidence with the ship, learning more about how it functions till he eventually tries to leave. I also didn't expect a guy who's a fan of Clint Eastwood to be complaining about actors only ever showing one expression, but here we are. Genuinely just piss off with this sentiment. Being able to act isn't just being able to show different expressions all the time. Sometimes it's the ability to convey specific emotions while keeping a similar look. Cassian is a leader. He is supposed to be able to protect his cohort, keep a steady hand. So, if he were to slip in his demeanor, it may impact the confidence of those around him. It may impact the confidence he has in himself. So it is incredibly impressive for an actor to convey feelings of sorrow, anger, or guilt while generally not overacting. Trying to maintain a level of composure and stay steady. A consistent aspect of the show is the idea that characters need to keep their heads down to avoid drawing attention to themselves, else they may cause trouble if they give the wrong person the wrong look. So naturally, when you're sneaking through an Imperial base, trying to steal a top secret prototype TIE fighter, you probably want to not over-animate yourself, to avoid drawing attention to you, yeah? But that doesn't mean Cassian's actor is incapable of acting, you muppet.
Right there! There's our real problem.
I was initially tossing up the idea of doing a separate video for each episode.
No, you weren't. I refuse to believe that a person who thinks deadlines and too much work offer wimps was willing to put in the effort to discuss each episode of a densely packed TV show in their own dedicated video. Then again, how much effort was really put into this mess? Even when you claimed to like the show during the exciting parts, you didn't bother making a dedicated video for each of those episodes, with the video you did end up making being half the length of this flopper. So really, you were just puffing smoke.
That won't be happening, as pretty much Sweet FA happened in the first 3 episodes.
Reinstilling Cassian as a significantly more confident espionage agent, showing his growth and ability to continue working under pressure, followed by an exciting chase scene involving his capture of a stolen TIE fighter. Reconnecting with Bix, Brasso, and Willem, who are hiding out in a secluded farming community as mechanics, showcasing how they are trying to make a new life for themselves despite the turmoil they were put under in Season 1 by the Empire. Navigating Mon Mothma's dilemma as she tries desperately to prepare for her daughter's wedding while accommodating every necessary Chandrilan custom, both political and cultural. She is then tripped up by the sudden appearance of Luthen, the show's designated spy master, who is here under mysterious circumstances and won't tell her why. Her childhood friend and largest benefactor, Tay Kolma, is desperately trying to get her attention. Cassian ends up captured by the rogue rebel agents who suspect him of being an Imperial pilot. And finally, we have the scene setting up the exploitation of Gorman's natural resources to help complete the energy initiative set up by the Emperor, also known as building the Death Star. The scene is discussed by several higher-ups of the Imperial Security Bureau and the Navy, reintroducing director Orson Krennic, who has not been seen since Rogue One, as well as reconnecting with Dedra Meero and Major Partagast, 2 primary antagonists from the previous season. That's the first 30 minutes of the first episode. Now, what you may describe as sweet FA and what I might describe as sweet FA can be 2 different things. For example, if I were to view the scene of Luke Skywalker mindlessly killing an entire horde of Death Troopers in Mando Season 2, I would describe it as a worthless scene that contributes nothing to the overall story and provides very little meaningful character work. Just being there to add spectacle while maybe making some grown man cry, where you would probably call it cool because it had lightsabers and Jedi. Unfortunately, there were more of you who thought the same thing. Another example would be if I were to view the Mon Mothma scenes at the wedding. I'd come to the conclusion that it demonstrates a lot of meaningful character interactions and dilemmas, providing substantial drama for me to chew on as I get to further examine a lot of their mental states, learning more about their culture and customs while also being able to absorb some absolutely stunning scenery. If you were to watch it, you'd call it boring, girl brand Star Wars. I'm not gonna lie, I take my sweet FA over your sweet FA any day of the week.
And seeing as Disney has been promoting this show as the second coming, it really was quite a surprise how drawn out and slow these first 3 episodes were.
I would like to remind you all that Robothead abandoned Season 1 on Episode 4, just before the climax of the Aldani arc. He is surprised that people are hyping up the show because he is struggling to make it through the first 3 episodes. Yet despite these episodes being crowned with substantial character work and dialogue, because there isn't enough action, he can't keep his focus. This, ladies and gentlemen, is why we can't have nice things.
But let's jump in. We start with Jesus Christ.
That's no moon.
Oh lovely, we are body shaming someone for having a big butt. That's very classy of you. I've gained significantly more respect for you as a content creator and a person. Congratulations on your new subscriber.
Now I know we are meant to be all PC about these things and everyone is beautiful, but surely the Empire has some fitness standards.
What exactly makes you think she can't meet those standards? Is it just her big butt? Is that it? You have no idea what her physicality and endurance levels are like, while also assuming that she is anything other than just a mechanic. She isn't in combat gear, she isn't holding a blaster, she is just checking the maintenance levels of a ship before Cassian steals it. Is this the same sort of argument you'd levy against J-Holt Bihaz, the Commandant of Aldani during episode 4 through 6 of season 1? Oh, forgive me, you didn't watch season 1, so let's use a character from an episode you did watch. Is this the same argument you'd use against Admiral Dicer, one of the members handpicked by Krennic, to discuss the optimal methods of acquiring deep substrate foliated calcite from Gorman? He looks like he could use a few laps around the track. Or how about a real classic, someone we all loved watching blow up? Is this the same argument you'd use against Jack Porkins from Star Wars A New Hope? The man's so big, he had Porkins in his name. I understand everyone is supposed to be beautiful, but surely the rebels have some fitness standards, right? Now don't get me wrong, this segment isn't meant to body shame these actors. This is meant to express an inconsistent standard held by this content creator. You make a jab at this woman's expense despite knowing nothing about her, beyond just seeing her in a grey jumpsuit. And let me remind you all that the last time this happened, where people on the internet started bullying an actress for looking burly in a Star Wars property, they were universally shocked to know what she looked like in a dress. And something tells me the exact same thing would happen here.
And if they really wanted to hire this actress, couldn't they have used her in a different location, say on the farm planet?
I'm sure you would have found something to complain about even if they did. There's no harm in placing her where she is, considering that there is nothing wrong with her being here.
And my god, do they make sure they shoot her to look her biggest.
I really want to call you a specific term, but the last time I did that, I got my most popular video demonetized, so I will refrain from doing it again. Just know that the intention is there.
If I was a cynical robot, I'd swear they start the show on this shot and these angles trying to rile up an online reaction just in case the audience score is a bit low.
Or maybe you're just a pig.
It's always good to have that audience a bigots card ready to pull out if the show's ratings are really poor.
Highest viewed show on Disney+, fourth highest Nielsen streaming numbers, led to the most viewed film on Disney+. You also aren't exactly proving Leslie Headland wrong with these comments.
Seriously, the first 2 minutes of this show is Disney saying, "Come on, incels, we dare you. Look at it. Just look at it."
Did you just self-report? I was in a big call of like 15 or 20 people watching this arc live as it was coming out, same way that we did it for every other arc, and no one there even mentioned her arse or its size. So yeah, maybe it is just weirdos like you who notice these things, but I'm sure you'll feel the touch of a woman someday. Just keep at it, sport. I'm sure they'll find your constant low IQ takes paired up with your small attention span very enthralling.
We find out that our lead character, that has all the charisma and range of a shop mannequin,
Clint Eastwood fan, by the way,
is on a super secret mission to steal a TIE Fighter prototype, and he steals it from the most barren-looking Empire facility you could imagine. Where is everyone?
Probably asleep in their dorms or grabbing a drink in whatever excuse this place has for a town in that second area. Nia says that she's waiting for her supervisor to leave before Cassian can steal the fighter. It's pretty clear that this operation is taking place late at night before the test flight in the morning. The makeshift cover story they come up with is that Cassian is exploring the compound before going to bed, so this is all lining up. There are a number of guards sweeping the compound, with 2 of them being seen and heard in this very room. Cassian gets discovered by a good handful of them during his attempted escape, so it's not like this place is entirely empty, else how do you explain TIE fighters being called in so quickly? If the majority of the facility is made up of engineers, mechanics, supervisors, maintenance workers, janitors, and so on, then it would make sense that they all collectively fucked off during downtime, leaving this handful of stormtroopers to monitor the place. It would be important for them all to be well rested before the big day, don't you agree?
And you can tell they really want to sell that our leading man is lead worthy, because everyone finds him attractive.
Are we really going to debate the legitimacy of Diego Luna's attractiveness? Because there are a few compelling arguments for why he is.
She said you were cute.
And don't expect his adventure of getting into the cockpit to be thrilling. This is no 1982's Firefox, where Clint Eastwood had to murder and trick his way into the Russian fighter he was trying to steal.
I mean, yeah, this isn't some random action thriller from the 80s. It's Andor. This is an espionage mission to steal a TIE fighter. Cassian was shown in the scene being more than prepared to carry out a firefight when he hears two stormtroopers approaching. But he realistically would want to avoid that as much as possible so he could make a clean getaway. This man is one of the 3 survivors of Aldhani. He knows what it looks like when you get into firefights in the middle of your mission. He also knows that even if he has the superior firepower, with enough bodies, he would be overrun. It's why the plan involved as little conflict as possible. He very clearly has a woman on the inside, helping him to make this mission as painless as she can, drafting up time schedules and giving him correct estimates for his windows of opportunity. If he went in guns blazing, not only would it make him look like a buffoon trying to take on 10 stormtroopers by himself, if not more, but it would go against everything the show has been trying to say since its first episode. The consistent message that characters like Cassian and Luthen tried to teach was that the only way they could win was by using the same underhanded, slimy, and manipulative tactics the Empire would use in order to not die in the process. A consistent message that continues to be utilized further into the season to significant praise.
No, none of that. Cassian Andor just walks up and hops in, only stopping to blast a droid. A blast that doesn't set off any alarm bells.
Why would it? Has there ever been an instance in Star Wars before where firing a blaster sets off alarms? And if there is, don't you think that should have been installed on the Death Star?
He walks from his room, down a corridor, and into the hangar of a top-secret test craft, I might add, and doesn't see one person. No stormtroopers, no security, no one.
We actively know that there are stormtroopers present because we see 2 of them passing Cassian before he meets Nia. We also don't see Cassian leaving his room and making his way to the hangar bay all in one take. There is a cut showing that he moved to a different section of the facility. It is more than reasonable to suggest that he came across more security along the way, but actively chose to avoid them so he could make it to the hangar undetected. Even if he did come across others, notice how he's wearing a fucking pilot's suit with an Imperial pilot's helmet? Pretending like he belongs in any given place was one of the first things we learned about him in Season 1. It's his selling pitch to Luthen that gets him hired to go to Aldhani. This is just a continuation of that character trait. Fuck, it ended up being good enough for these ragtag rebels to capture him and hold him prisoner for 2 episodes. So, again, what is the problem?
In fact, the Empire only realizes someone is flying the ship when he slams it into a wall. So yes, lucky for Cassian, the Empire is still run by complete morons.
Guys, this is important. Let's check it out.
You just walk in like you belong.
Takes more than that, doesn't it?
What, to steal from the Empire? What do you need? A uniform, some dirty hands, and an Imperial toolkit. They're so proud of themselves, they don't even care. They're so fat and satisfied, they can't imagine it.
Can't imagine what?
That someone like me would ever get inside their house, walk their floors, spit in their food, take their gear.
The arrogance is remarkable, isn't it?
Good.
And when they finally do respond, why do they just start firing at the ship? How are they so sure that their new experimental craft isn't just malfunctioning? They just start blasting away.
I do agree that the decision to start blasting is a bit hasty, but it's not like they have zero suspicion. The test flight is scheduled to happen first thing in the morning. The stormtroopers at the start of the scene comment that rosters are not rotated in the schedule, confirming that certain activities take place at specified times. The vast majority of the workers of this facility are not currently present, such as aircraft marshals, mechanics, supervisors, flight plan coordinators, and so on. The test pilots also started firing the TIE fighters' onboard weapons, creating a severely dangerous hazard that could harm significantly more people while damaging a lot more of the facility. I think there is enough reasonable evidence to suggest that whoever is flying this machine probably shouldn't be in there. However, I do agree that someone should have checked in first.
All they had to do was have someone looking at a screen saying he's not one of ours, but no, the stormtroopers just start firing on this poor test pilot who has lost control of the new prototype. There's one for your robot chicken. This one writes itself.
Oh, and there's a laser blast from the TIE fighter.
And how's the balls on this dude, standing right in front of a TIE fighter, taking it head on?
To be fair, he initially took a position behind the TIE fighter before firing the rocket. Not sure if he had just arrived or needed some time to calibrate his rocket to explain why he didn't just shoot it sooner. But after missing the initial shot, his main choices were try again and maybe get shot, or run away and maybe get shot. I guess running away would have been the smarter choice, but it doesn't really matter in the end.
Well, that didn't work out so well, did it? Probably for the best, because I imagine blowing up a TIE fighter that's covered in missiles inside the hangar could have blown the whole place up.
Sure. Maybe. Maybe he just hit the wrong wing or the pilot and avoids blowing up the facility. It doesn't really matter.
And shouldn't blast doors be blast resistant?
To normal blaster bolts and maybe rocket launchers? Sure. Experimental TIE fighters with new, incredibly powerful tech from an empire that's looking to close an even firmer Imperial mechanical fist around the galaxy? Maybe not. And it's not like we haven't seen blast doors being melted before or entire ships being destroyed from a singular blast, but you know.
Oh well. Now, that being said, after the slow drag of Season 1, I was thinking they may have heard some of the complaints and injected more action into this season.
The blaster shootout in Episode 3, the heist in Aldhani, the escape from Narkina 5, Luthen's ship battle with space lightsabers, and the riot on Ferrix. Each arc ended with an explosive, action-packed climax, with 2 of these climaxes containing some of the greatest character monologues ever presented to film. Again, the people who actually watched the show had plenty of action and were thoroughly pleased with what they had been given. I understand that it's been almost 10 years and you have been conditioned to expect the mandated slop fights present in basically every episode of Mando or Boba Fett, but this show is not meant for children.
I was thinking, even if it's on the stupid side, let's try and enjoy this action seed.
About 3/4 of the arguments you presented for why the scene was bad just were not great, and the 4th one was contentious, even if I did agree with it. It's also funny to me how a scene that basically anyone with an opinion worth listening to has agreed is not the best turned out to be something you thought was good.
The first 10 minutes was good.
Really? I thought the first 10 minutes was legit the most retarded stuff that Andor's ever done.
When he was stealing the ship, I thought, oh, maybe they've fixed the pacing problems here. Maybe we're going to get some action and a bit of Star Wars in there. So, I was trying to go in with a very positive attitude. So I thought, I'm going to enjoy this, even though we've got the blandest lead actor you could possibly imagine. I'm going to try and enjoy this. So, yeah, I didn't mind him stealing the ship. I didn't think that was the worst thing I'd ever seen.
It really is just bright lights and loud noises with you, isn't it?
That positive attitude and the thought that this season wasn't going to drag didn't last long.
He's going to get filtered again, isn't he?
But on the positive, yes, this is a positive, the show does look great and the practical effect gear porn looks really good. Unlike Satan's anus sweat, or what some people call the Acolyte, you can see where the money went in this show. It doesn't look like a cheap set filled with garbage.
Correct! No! Bix, wake up! Wake up! No! Hey!
After a quick drop in on Andor's friends on the farm planet, we head to...
Wait, hold up. Is that seriously it? You aren't going to comment on Bix's nightmares, the fact that she has trauma, how she is recuperating from the torture that was inflicted onto her by Ghost in Season 1, the fact that this is a reoccurring issue for her, the fact that the screaming in the middle of the night is such a common thing that Brasso knows immediately what the problem is. You aren't going to say anything about what was just shown and how it quickly establishes where these characters are physically as well as mentally. Oh, right, you left after episode 4, of course you don't know what happened. So instead, we are going to be left with even more pointless bullshit to sift through.
We head to Mon Mothma's house for her daughter's 3-day wedding. A wedding that we visit over the first 3 bloody episodes and feels like we are experiencing it in real time.
You won't hold my hand.
I felt like I was really stuck there for 3 days.
I was present during a really funny conversation that was held between a friend of mine, Boren, who has been on this channel before covering shitty Andor videos like the one I am currently responding to, and the person he was debating at the time, who was just some random guy complaining about the first 3 episodes. They covered a wide range of topics, none of which had any substantially interesting or convincing arguments against, with one of the funnier ones being when we got to the Shandy wedding you are currently complaining about. His issues being similar to yours were that it took too long, that we spent too much time there. When pressed further on it, he claimed that a good chunk of this setting could be taken out because we'd lose nothing of value. When we asked him what those sections were, he stated that the long drawn-out walking sections could be removed, that you could have saved a handful of seconds between each scene. How pathetic of a criticism is it to suggest that you can save mere seconds in a scene to avoid being bored? And I know this is a criticism you would share, since you think we'd be able to cover all of this content in just 5 minutes. Destroying the deliberately designed pacing and structure of a scene, removing any sense of cordial behavior as befits Mon Mothma's customs within her sovereign society, generally making the product worse overall just because you don't have any patience. The broader issue is that people like you think the show is slow paced, but that's generally because most of the time you don't actually know what's going on. If I asked you to explain what was happening, guaranteed 9 times out of 10 you likely wouldn't be able to answer, or at least answer correctly. The reason why I wouldn't say the show is slowly paced is because we are constantly being provided with new information to digest while the scenes are playing. In an actually slow-paced show like Ahsoka or even any Zack Snyder film, you can feel the passage of time, and the wrinkles slowly forming on your forehead because of how frequently we are shown concentrated dosages of pure, blissful nothing. That's just not the case here. The Chandrilan wedding is dripping with character work as well as some incredibly gorgeous scenery and locations. Just the first scene alone introduces us to Mon Mothma, showing several key elements to take note of. She is in a high-stress environment, trying to ensure the wedding goes well, following all of the necessary customs. The first line of dialogue directed to Mon states that it took a wedding to get her out of the house. Now, while this may be just a pleasant bit of chitter-chatter, we know there is likely some merit to this statement, as Mon is a leading figure in building up the rebellion as well as a senator. So, a statement like this quickly catches the audience up with what she's been up to in the last year. Of course, she spent a lot of time away from people, away from prying eyes and ears, especially after the close call she had at the end of season 1. The scene also does a remarkably excellent job in telling you a story with no dialogue as Mon reacts to events around her. Namely the landing of Luthen's ship, which brings on a face of dread and mild panic, leading her to making her way to the landing platform where she runs into her cousin Vel, someone who shares similar worry concerning who has just arrived without saying a word. They aren't the only ones, as Tay Kolma, Mon's most lucrative investor and childhood friend, showcases a layered level of annoyance that he quickly hides with a somewhat sincere platitude. The reason why this conversation is interesting, especially on a second viewing, is because Tay is in financial distress due to rebel activity souring his investments. He has been trying to reach Mon for a while, only to be ignored due to her wedding plans, and when he arrives he is met with lavish luxury, tons of expensive food, drinks, gifts, outfits, and eventually a really big statue that costs more than the building they were residing in. All the while, he faces significant risk to his own lifestyle, filling him with contempt, leading him to pressuring Mon. And you get a good sense of his intention just by him delivering a quick look and simple platitude. These are 3 examples of excellent usages of time, dialogue and pacing, all within a few seconds of each other. Now, I have to listen to this mongrel toaster explaining why these scenes are bad.
Stuck in a Disney princess wedding where most of the men are related to Liberace.
Oh dear, you found me.
All of the information needed to be translated to the viewer at the wedding could have literally been delivered in a single 5-minute scene. But no, we spend so much time at the Disney princess wedding, I nearly got a yeast infection.
It's just such piss. Genuinely worthless commentary.
I wish you were drunk.
Don't let anyone tell you they ain't trying to turn Star Wars into a girl brand.
A scene that is vitally important to Mon Mothma's character, as we see incredible levels of detail the kind of environment she was forced to live in, and the sacrifices she needs to make in order to secure the Rebel Alliance's foothold on the galaxy. Mon didn't want this kind of life for her daughter, and while yes, it's all frilly and girly and looks nice, it's simply surface level glee. Her daughter is still being put through an arranged marriage to a boy who doesn't like her enough to hold her hand. Mon is shown constant mirrors into the marriage she was forced into with her current husband, and we all know how that turned out. She is shown encouraging her daughter to call off the wedding if she doesn't want to go through with it, revealing how she wished her mother would have done the same for her. Her daughter needs to be paraded around and showcased to the other clans like a prize cattle before ceremoniously cutting ties with her family. Her daughter being between 13 and 14 years of age. I get some people would argue that the parents are okay with this arrangement, and the bride and the groom home have known each other for a good chunk of time. But come on now, just because Skolden's older brother did it and he's still married doesn't mean Mon should be okay with this arrangement. This is while also ignoring all of the other stuff that gets done in these scenes. Tay's blackmail attempt, Skolden's unveiling of the Shandy mural, Perrin's speech about trying to find joy despite the constant anxieties Leda will face in her new marriage, Luthen's decision to take care of Tay, and of course, Mon getting a new high score on Star Wars Connect. If this is gold brand Star Wars, then grab me a sash and sign me up for cookie delivery duty, because I'm officially a Pawnee goddess.
And after 3 very long episodes, the wedding culminates in, I shit you not, a techno dance party where Mon Mothma confirms what we all knew, that older people look f***ing stupid at dance parties. In between the never-ending bold and beautiful wedding, we get to visit my favourite part of the series so far, the previously mentioned farm planet. I would give anything to have seen Zack Snyder's face when he saw this Disney Star Wars farm idea that had absolutely no connection to his Rebel Moon script. His head must have exploded, and that's why it's my favourite part. If you don't know, Zack Snyder originally offered his Rebel Moon idea to Kathleen Kennedy, who rejected it. Now, I'm no fan of Zack Snyder, but the similarities are pretty strong. It will never happen, but wouldn't it be hilarious if Zack sued Disney over this?
I'll admit, I thought it was pretty funny. I didn't know the extent of the similarities, but even during the live watch party, I did mention how Snyder cultists on Twitter would be calling him the Blueprint again just because Brasso and co were on a farm planet. That is literally as far as the comparisons will go, because unlike Andor, Rebel Moon is a gigantic pile of shit. But yes, that was pretty funny.
Andor's friends are hiding out on the farm planet, and the Empire there to do an audit and also check visas for illegal aliens. Yes, the only aliens we do get in this show are the illegal type.
Well, there were a few aliens in Season 1. Not many, but they were there. They're significantly more present throughout Season 2, and I am sympathetic towards people who wanted more aliens. But they were there. Oh wait, we are trying to make a modern day ism about a show that finished writing 2 to 3 years ago. Whoopsies.
There they are! Those are those damn kids that paid immigrant workers!
Yeah, they got a loan to pay their minions, so you know what that means? They took our job!
They took our dude! They took your dude!
Wait a minute! I thought we were mad because of their gender choice and sexuality and stuff. No, those are those other guys. We just want our jobs back. Oh, well, let's get your jobs and make fun of them for their former self-identification.
We do see the odd creature, but they're very few and very far between, which makes me think, I never realised Mon Mothma was such a bigot. I mean, with all the aliens she knew, she didn't think to invite one to her daughter's wedding. Cassian lands on another planet to hand on the stolen ship to another pilot. He finds that the other pilot has been killed by a group of, well, let's call them retards.
Well, you know, Sam, I guess owes you thanks as well. He was in the first episode this season. This is, the first 3 episodes. That's
the first 2, yeah.
Oh, the first 2, great.
First 2. Yeah, I went out for dinner one night as I was trying to come up with a scene for these idiots at the beginning, and he and my niece's husband were at my end of the table, and there was a lot of booze going and everything else, and they were like Heckle and Jekyll all night long. I was like, oh my God, that's what, and they're both actors. I'm like, I've cast 400 other actors. Why can't I cast these 2 idiots?
We need a pilot to get off the planet. And here is one of the biggest problems with this show that really needs to be handled better. Unlike Joel in The Last of Us, who died.
You actually are pretty handsome.
She said you were cute.
Didn't you have an entire bitch fit about Andor not being like Game of Thrones?
And the adult thing drives me fucking crazy. We're not watching Game of Thrones. What makes this so adult, besides the slow pace?
Do you not remember who was a member of that cast? Were you going to act like Pedro didn't pull off the incredibly charismatic, attractive, confident, suave, and impressive performance of Oberyn Martell just because you were trying, and failing, to take more low-effort potshots?
We know nothing bad is going to happen to Cassian, which means the stakes are very low and there is no real tension.
Sir, That is not how tension works. Us knowing that Cassian makes it through this ordeal doesn't mean the stakes are lowered as a result. That's because we know that the people he cares for and the people he answers to are expecting him to make a return after offloading the ship. Him being delayed and kept there for 2 days directly leads to Brasso being killed and Bix being assaulted. Had he arrived on time, he likely would have packed up everyone's shit and fucked off immediately. The stakes are the safety of his friends, and the tension is if he makes it back on time. The side quest is directly keeping him from getting home, so it serves a purpose in building up that tension. How effective it was at doing so is up for debate.
This is made worse by the fact that we don't know any other character in this setup. If Cassian had taken the girl from the opening scenes with him, or even if the other pilot had still been alive, we could have had the tension build up of him trying to keep a companion alive. That could have made the jungle detour slightly interesting.
It could also have made it more boring. It could have dragged the scene even further. It could have done a lot of things, but what you'd need to do is explain why Cassian would have brought Nia along when he didn't have a reason to. He was going to offload the ship to another pilot and then fly back to Brasso and co. Was he supposed to bring her along for that too? Or is it likely that she had her own idea of what to do after this mission was done? As for Porco, why would these guys keep him alive when they are already struggling with food, especially after he opened fire on them? Isn't the point of the scene supposed to be that they are a credible threat against Cassian because they have been shown willingly killing people already, which prevents Cassian from trying to use more brute force tactics? I don't know, this rewrite sounds kind of bad.
But instead, we have to endure 2 episodes of our hero watching squabbling morons in a setup that serves no purpose.
Well, despite Tony admitting that this group of idiots is in fact a group of idiots, I'd argue the setting does serve a purpose, which is to provide a stark contrast to the calculated and efficient machine of the Empire. These rebels, along with the Gorman resistance before the aid of Vel, and I got her name right this time, so don't at me in the comments anymore saying I got it wrong, else I will find you and I will get you. Anyways, these factions demonstrate what happens to a rebel force when there is no structure, when there is no discipline. It's precisely the kind of thing Luthen was trying to avoid creating in Season 1 when he approached Saw Gerrera and tried to enlist him in a greater cause. It's why the rebels in episodes 7 through 12 have such a big stink about Cassian leaving the base without a flight plan or without permission. They have managed to create a fighting force capable of directly taking on the Empire, but only if they work together and avoid dismissing the chain of command. These idiots are exact proof of why that concept exists in the first place, else they are just hopeless fanatics.
Are we gonna die?
Yep. The only purpose of this detour is to delay Andor long enough to cause tension on the farm planet.
So you admit the stakes aren't actually low, and there is tension involved which is directly connected to Cassian's capture on this planet. You uploaded this video twice, by the way, and you didn't think to edit this part out or maybe change up the script a little bit? Just tidy it up somewhat? You really just are that fucking lazy, aren't you?
And, best of all, it also lets us spend more time at the wedding.
I'm actually glad we spent as much time as we did on Chandrila. The location is stunning, the costume design and props used were breathtaking, and I've already gushed oh so much about the character work and dialogue. But yeah, when you are too busy not getting matches on Tinder, you tend to miss out on these really neat details only to complain about how boring it was later to your friends.
Both of these things could have been achieved by having Andor spend more time stealing the ship, which for the traditional Star Wars audience could have been way more interesting.
This is a show that I love to recommend, and obviously I'm a fan of Star Wars, but I truly believe this is the Star Wars property that it is the least important to be a fan of Star Wars of. Like, I just think if you're a fan of great storytelling and great television, like, this is for you.
Man, that's why I'm here for literally the pizza I'm supposed to deliver tonight is like, you do not have to know anything about Star Wars, like Star Wars, or anything. I mean, to sit down with Andor and make a full meal of it, it was built for that purpose, and it was made by a lot of people. I mean, 2,500 people worked on the show, but it was a good mix of nerds and people who really had to be convinced to come over and work on it because it was Star Wars. So, yeah, no Star Wars aversion should stop you from watching our show.
I'm taking a shower now. I don't want to be disturbed.
What an incredibly riveting line of dialogue from our leading man, delivered with so much enthusiasm and charisma. Why couldn't Cassian be more like him?
More interesting than watching Andor watch a bunch of idiots turn on each other. Idiots that spend 2 days trying to kill each other to only end up settling their bloodthirsty fight with a game of Star Wars rock, paper, scissors. Yes. Yes, that really happened.
He's not wrong, that really did happen.
In what the critics want us to believe is the greatest show the universe has ever produced. And it's as ridiculous as it sounds.
Since when are we judging the quality of an entire season of television based off of one singular scene that takes up, 2 minutes of screen time in a 47-minute episode? The space rock paper scene sucks. I'm not going to disagree. But if you think it's even remotely fair to make this broad claim about the quality of the entire season being reflective of this scene, then you are just fucking delusional. It's doubly annoying to hear you say this in a video you re-uploaded, considering that you made this fucking thing praising episode 8 and 9 for actually being good.
Yes, that's where we are. Dirty, mud-living idiots playing rock, paper, scissors.
This is vile.
You'll learn to love it.
I've said this before, Star Wars has gone from a galaxy kids fantasize about living in to a galaxy most people would want to avoid.
How many kids do you think fantasized about living on Alderaan? How many do you think fantasized about being a Jedi during Order 66? Who was out here saying, yeah, Anakin's mom, the woman who was violently beaten to death by sand people? Idle. There were tons of people coming out of the internet woodwork saying they'd absolutely love to be a part of Andor's world. Screw it. Here's an example.
And this series is just done so well. One of the particular things that stands out here, this is great acting, this is great writing, this is great effects. But I want to say, man, these locations, I felt like that's a real place. Every background has this really cool structures, and I was like, man, I just need to take a trip. Which state is this in? It was
you could have. It was $5,000.
I was
Disney
gonna say,
hotel. You missed your
opportunity. I'd rather
Joe.
stay in those hotels than the ones they had over there.
$5,000.
Those look like shit.
Yeah.
Compared to this.
So, when the Senate in Coruscant, all the pillars and huge pools of water and just opulence, it was just impressive looking. And, it's really immersive. And the intrigue comes to a crescendo here in these 3 episodes. I really enjoyed it.
The point of this show is that it tries to depict a realistic empire, one that was capable of holding its grip on the galaxy for as long as it did, trying to show what it takes to successfully resist a totalitarian regime. It tells a story about human history, whether it's contemporary, modern history, or something older. People who look at what happened on Ferrix, or what happened on Nakina 5, or what will happen on Gorman, and say, I don't want to be a person who finds themselves on these planets during these times, would be very valid in those opinions. Children want to do a bunch of terribly stupid shit, no matter the IP, which is why God granted them Fortnite skins. Their opinions on the quality of media shouldn't really be considered if the criteria we will be discussing is, do you want to live there? Because I can guarantee you right now, there will be 10-year-old boys who'd say they'd want to live in the world of Warhammer 40,000 because they think Space Marines are cool. Funnily enough, another thing happened while I was making this. Turns out after Andor's season ended, Battlefront 2 numbers skyrocketed for the first time in years, with almost an 18,000 player peak on Steam, and a chorus of fans begging EA for a Battlefront 3, including, and I'm sorry if I mispronounced this, Muhannad Ben Amor, the actor who plays Willem in the show. So yeah, it turns out a lot of people were so inspired by Andor's world and writing that they actually got excited about Star Wars again and chose to live in its world for a whole ass week.
There it is. Right there. There's our real problem.
We get some Empire plans.
You've had your eye on something made of Gorman twill. Elegance and durability.
He just skips it. He just skips one of the best scenes of the show because he didn't fucking pay attention to anything that was being said or done. I cannot stand this man. He's volatile levels of cringe.
The Princess Wedding, and Andor's waste of time side quest, and we are 2 episodes down. But fear not, the wedding is still going when we hit episode 3.
The 3-episode wedding was still going by the time we reached episode 3.
Say the line!
Uvu.
Redraft your script?
And Andor is finally on his way to the farm planet.
I can't fly the ship. The drop is compromised. I've been upside down for 2 days.
Upside down, in space, in a spaceship that creates its own gravity. How could you be upside down?
He didn't literally mean he was upside down, you dirty mop bucket water drinker. He's talking to her in code. He's trying to be secretive, like they've been doing since season 1. God fucking damn it, you are so stupid. You uploaded this video twice, and you still didn't notice how retarded this joke was? Christ almighty, and I still have another video to get through after this?
I've been upside down for 2 days.
As a nice little side away from the farm planet and the bloody never-ending wedding, we get to spend an afternoon with Deidre and Cyril, who are shacked up now and don't own one coloured piece of furniture or appliance.
Gee, I wonder what this could possibly indicate about their relationship or their personalities or their view on life. Could this maybe be an aspect of their obsession with control, order, and stability, which reflects their personal, professional standings as members of the motherfucking empire? You know, the people who want to destroy any and all senses of individuality and culture that they don't have a direct hand in maintaining and cultivating.
These cultures that he builds feel so rich. They have economies and songs.
And he paints them very, very well. And he gives them their own cultural qualities. And you feel that, oh, this is something that the Empire can't live with.
I get that futuristic minimalism is cool, but for God's sake, I get it. They are both super serious. But wouldn't it have been nice to learn a little bit more about them through their furnishings and possessions?
Gee, if only there was a season of television canonically set before this season which explores Cyril's personal life and shows what he values as an individual while showcasing the kinds of people he was inspired by in his childhood. If only the scene established why Deidre doesn't care for personal belongings that don't serve a direct function to her immediate needs, why she may be distant to the idea of memorabilia.
My parents were criminals. They were arrested when I was 3. I was raised in an Imperial kinderblock.
Also, I really fucking hate that you edited out Cyril being so incredibly autistic about his presentation being perfect that he slightly corrects the position of a fork on a plate. Like, do you not think that tells you something about who he is as a person?
You know, one of them could have been into music or something, but I'm guessing with all that holding in of emotions and living in a padded cell, these two are having some crazy sex. Probably explains why everything's white.
If I had a black light, the place would look like a Jackson Pollock painting. You got issues, Quill.
Anyhow, we get to spend the afternoon with them in a little crazy mother-in-law skit. Yes, the yeast infection that the wedding gave me really flared up during this gigantic waste of time.
Edie as a character was incredibly important for the development of Cyril in Season 1. She was a big push in terms of motivation for Cyril to pursue his leads on Andor further after his defeat in Episode 3, but not because she was supportive. Her abrasive, dismissive, and all-around uncaring attitude towards Cyril's ambitions helped to foster a burning desire within him to improve his stations at multiple points in his life, so that he could get away from her. Cyril was a senior law enforcement officer for Morlana 1 during Act 1 of the show, and took great care in maintaining his station, both in conduct as well as in presentation. The way Cyril presents himself is very important to his character. He takes pride in his work. His eagerness to climb the corporate ladder is born out of a desire to seek justice and do what he believes to be good for the galaxy. As such, he often took his duties more seriously than most of his fellow employees, leading to him standing out amongst the ranks of the ISB's civil servants. However, Edie is far more concerned with how Cyril's actions and behavior reflect on herself and the family name, while also wanting him to remain close to her on Coruscant. She goes out of her way to dictate exactly what Cyril does with his life, since she views him as an individual without any prospects for the future. This is technically her way of caring for Cyril and making sure that he does okay in life, but it comes at the cost of reducing his achievements and belittling his choices in life. As such, she often relies on Uncle Harlow, a family friend with a degree of influence within the Imperial bureaucracy, to assist Cyril in helping with his career, much to Cyril's annoyance. Though despite his reluctance, Cyril did end up accepting a job provided by Harlow within the Imperial Bureau of Standards, which had an opening for mediocre office job. In the years since his acceptance of this job, Cyril managed to climb remarkably far after he uncovered a criminal cabal of corrupt purchasing agents that were trying to steal Imperial resources. Even though he accepted a meager office job, Cyril created a position for himself that offered great prospects for his future because he dared to stand above those who were content with a more meager life. And yet, even though he took the position offered to him by his uncle, even though he still lived in Coruscant near his mother, she was still unwilling to acknowledge his achievements, calling him delicate, suggesting that they only ever got by because of her love and determination, as well as Harlow's charity. Cyril is someone who despises the idea of relying on others. He only ever tries his best to accomplish his goals and often goes far and above what is expected of him. He likes being in control. He likes feeling like he is important. He appreciates the idea that his actions have meaning and is actively accomplishing something worthwhile. So it's remarkably fascinating to watch a character like this lose all of his steam simply because his mother refuses to give him proper levels of respect he has rightfully earned. But what was a continuation of a trend we witnessed in Season 1 ends up flipped on its head because now Dedra is present, and she does not appreciate the volume of anxiety Edie generates in Cyril's life. She actively talks her down, deconstructs the story of Uncle Harlow after revealing that she has read his ISB criminal files, and dictates exactly how much of a presence Edie will have in Cyril's life if she wished to continue seeing him. This moment is incredibly cathartic for fans of the first season who finally get to see Edie being put in her place for her miserable treatment of Cyril. It is yet another scene of incredible character writing and payoffs that were built up across a season's worth of work. Your inability to engage with what you are shown here, paired up with your claim that this was a massive waste of time, just cements my problem with you and this video. It's slop content. You have nothing of value to add, not even a criticism worth listening to. You present no insight into this topic because you don't know what you are talking about 99% of the time. It's vapid, turgid trollop, and I am disgusted by the fact your opinion matters to so many people.
We really didn't need to revisit Cyril's sad state.
Yes, we actually did. It helps set up a lot of the payoffs later in the show while also just being really nice to see.
He's moved on and getting action. His brave saving of Dedra in Season 1 should have been his growth spurt, not his wife putting his mum in her place.
Characters are allowed to have more than one growth spurt during their development. Just because Cyril was able to overcome one specific event of tension doesn't then necessarily mean he'd be able to confront his mother after years of mistreatment and emotional abuse. That's not how this works.
I'm not done.
It would have been a lot better for his character if when we revisit him and his mum, he's in a lot more control of the situation.
I'm not exactly going to take writing advice from someone who can't even acknowledge the importance of a scene like this. Plus, the last few times you gave advice, it was pretty fucking terrible, so it would just be par for the course at this point.
But most of all, can't we just get the story moving?
It literally just happened. You saw it happening. You played a clip of it happening.
Perhaps some more cakes?
The only interesting thing to come out of this is that Dedra grew up in an Imperial kinderblock.
My parents were criminals. They were arrested when I was 3. I was raised in an Imperial kinderblock.
How old is she meant to be exactly?
She is implied to be in her early to mid-30s, but her exact age is never stated.
Now, I know that this show would rather pretend that the Empire's been in control for about 50 years, but it hasn't. At this stage, they've only been in power for about 15 years.
Why do you think this? What is it about the show that gave you that impression? Do you not think they were capable of accomplishing a great deal in 15 years? Why did you say this?
Even if her parents were arrested on the first day of the Empire's reign, when she was apparently 3, that would make her only 18, at the oldest. Man, that's some hard 18 years.
You are aware that names of things can change, right? Just because these facilities are called Imperial Kinderblocks now doesn't mean they would have been called that when she was a child, yes? And do you not think that a leading member of the ISB would be referring to government programs with the most recent Imperial-approved taglines? She works for the British Gestapo. Of course she'd call them an Imperial Kinderblock. She doesn't want to be sent to the damn gulags.
I mean, they did cast a 45-year-old for the role and gave her a pretty important job, but this revelation means that in the first season she was only about 17 years old.
Sure, if you say so.
Like the whole of Disney, Tony Gilroy, the creator of this show, really doesn't give a fuck about Star Wars.
Oh yeah, he really doesn't give a singular shit about Star Wars, which is why he made the Empire the single most threatening aspect of Star Wars, showing them being incredibly competent to a degree we haven't seen since Episode 5. It's why he made the Force mystical in nature again, harkening back to the speeches Obi-Wan and Yoda gave Luke. It's why he painstakingly develops all of these unique cultures and languages and personalities for his characters and settings, further expanding the world building of Star Star Wars instead of having everything take place on fucking Tatooine again.
Did you, so you're obviously a fan of Star Wars, but you're not like a Star Wars, I'm trying to use words that do not sound cruel,
No,
but like...
it was not a part of my life.
Right. So does that give you, do you think that's the better way, it's probably helped you as a writer to not super be tied into the lore?
Totally.
Yeah.
When I went on, yeah, I mean, a lot of people who come on to Star Wars, it's almost like altitude sickness or something. They come on and I have a speech that I've given to all kinds of actors and all kinds of department heads and everything saying, look, you got hired to do what you do. Like when you put the costume on or you do the thing, you're here for the other reason. Forget that. And yeah, no, it helps to not do that.
Tony's ability to create that degree of separation from Star Wars as this entity which prevents people from doing their jobs correctly created the single most fleshed out and well-made Star Wars product since the OT. But because you want to have an easy win, you are not willing to give the benefit of the doubt.
Anyway, back to the farm planet, and I swear to God, someone should do a welfare check on Zack Snyder after these Rebel Moon episodes, because they really did the dirty on him.
Yeah, I reckon someone should check up on him. It can't have been easy watching a well-written story taking place on a farm. He's not exactly used to quality storytelling.
All hell breaks loose on the farm planet when one of the Imperial officers tries to take advantage of Andor's special friend. No, sorry, not him, her. And when I say all hell broke out, I'm referring to the online outrage more than the show. Because if you were just going by the online reaction, you would have thought Marcellus Wallace had to take on Zed and the Gimp in one of the farm sheds.
Yes, Star Wars discourse online is incredibly retarded a good percentage of the time. This was no exception.
Now, in what will piss everyone off, I can see both sides of the argument, and people hate that.
Oh yeah, I'm sure you have an unbiased and incredibly thoughtful view on this specific subject matter. Nothing cringe to say whatsoever.
Yeah, but even it being implied to the point where, you know, he's like got her from behind and being aggressive and hitting her, I didn't feel like it belonged in Star Wars.
I think it paints a perfect picture of the Empire, though, and I'm going to give my 2 cents here, and then I'll shut up about this whole thing, but I think as an individual of a certain persuasion, that scene was very personally powerful to me and difficult to watch. But I will say the following. I think it reflects really well in painting a picture of the true horrors of the Empire, because if we're going to sit here and paint pictures of the bureaucracy of essentially space fascism, right, and we're going to go through all these people and their terrible mission and all that stuff, it makes perfect sense to me that you would have Imperials that are essentially working almost unchecked, because somebody like Palpatine and Vader is not directly overseeing what Joe Schmo is doing on this planet to these people, right? So it makes sense to me that it happens. Now, the fact that it is strange to see it in Star Wars, I can agree with that, and I think that a show like this, to be completely honest, needs a higher maturity rating, because I don't think that a 14-year-old, for instance, I'm pretty sure that's the rating of Andor right now, is 14 and up, should be exposed to that sort of content. I think it's intense in that regard. But if we're talking about making an adult show that is for adults about Star Wars, it has a Star Wars label on it, but it's meant for an adult audience, that is something that happens. People that are power hungry and cruel commit acts like murdering children, like blowing up planets, and therefore forcing themselves on women that they see as basically inhuman is not out of the question. The fact that it is difficult to watch, is offensive, is bothersome, personally, I felt like, Jesus Christ, that's terrible, is a different story. But it happens, and I think the fact that they showed it and used the word, there is no minimizing rate. There's no, let's come up with a space word for it, because if you're somebody that has any experience with it in real life, you want to call it anything else, bullshit. Call it what it is. If you call it a space word, honestly, 100% you're going to piss more people off than if you just use the word. Now, would it have been a little more gentle to say attacked? Sure. But the fact of the matter is what happened happened. And, you know, at least it didn't happen. She was able to defend herself, and now this is another mark on this character for her strength and her experience with the Empire. But it's to me, it's not beyond the Empire's doing. So I didn't have the same reaction to it. That's just my 2 cents.
I agree. I don't think
it's in war. It's where it should be in
Star Wars. Right.
It's nothing to do with whether rape happens in war, and it's like it should be the word rape. That's not the argument. It's whether it should be in the Star Wars universe. And it's one of these things, like, to support theory a bit, it's an individual thing. It's like saying, well, we shouldn't have glasses in Star Wars. Everyone's like, fucking glasses. What do you care about glasses? What? It's death by 1,000 cuts. George Lucas had this vision that he liked, and he had these rules, and they're slowly getting eroded away. And the ratings are reflecting it. Like, we've lost what Star Wars is. Now, personally, I don't really care about the scene that much. Again, I don't want to get into a fight about whether they should wear glasses, but I don't think they should wear glasses. And it's the same sort of argument. Well, in real life, we wear glasses. You don't know what it's like to wear glasses. You should have to. In theory, you should love having glasses in bloody Star Wars because you're wearing some glasses now.
I fucking hate glasses.
The argument's whether this should be in Star Wars. And that's what the argument is, not whether rape is horrible. And if you've personally experienced it, oh my God, you don't know what it's about. That's a ridiculous argument. It's whether it should be in this product or not. And that's what it comes down to. And there's no right or wrong. Like, some people think it should be, you know, but a lot of people that think, you know, Star Wars should be a certain thing, certain rules, all those rules are getting taken away. And now we're getting this middle of the road series that not many people give a fuck about. And the adult thing drives me fucking crazy. We're not watching Game of Thrones. What makes this so adult besides the slow pace? Like, it's the lameness of how they're making it adult that gives me the shits.
Personally, I don't care about the scene itself. I do think if she had called out, "He attacked me," instead of driving it home with,
He tried to rape me.
Most people would have been fine.
People are dumb, panicky, dangerous animals, and you know it.
Man being mean is easier to explain to the kids than man tried to put it in me.
Have you not considered the idea that maybe it is actually pretty important to explain to your kids what this specific attack is? Especially considering the frequency of adolescent exposure to the internet and online media. It is criminally important to explain these topics to children to better inform them of the differences between good touching and bad touching, as well as creating a comfortable enough environment where they feel free to express themselves and come forward with their own issues, especially considering how many victims of such attacks end up being children and young adults. You can't foster a naive perspective on the world forever, and whether you like it or not, children are going to come across these topics one way or another, be it the news, Instagram posts, TikTok reels, or just them reading a synopsis of a book they are interested in.
And don't give me that crap that's not made for kids. It's on Disney Plus, and look at the bloody poster. Of course they're going to turn it on.
You know what else is on Disney Plus? Alien, Predator, Conan the Barbarian, Deadpool, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Borat, and a few more others that may not necessarily be for kids, or at least contain more adult themes. Are you going to throw a fit about the inclusion of these properties too? Parental supervision is still the responsibility of the parent. If parents don't want their kids watching this, then guess what? They can say no. Plus, how sheltered does your child have to be for you to think that this scene is too much for them? How the hell are they making it through season 1 of Andor if this is off the table? Plus, can we be for real here just for a moment? A lot of kids are watching and playing stuff they probably shouldn't be. Take myself, your average, ruggedly handsome squirrel who may or may not need to get out of the house more frequently. I was raised on Indiana Jones, Lord of the Rings, Resistance Fall of Man, Call of Duty World at War, Resident Evil 5, and GTA San Andreas. I watched my first episode of Game of Thrones at 13 years of age, and guess what? I was not the only one. Many of my friends around the exact same age had seen many of these properties and more, whether their parents knew about it or not. So, instead of playing ignorant and pretending like a child needs to be sheltered from the single most mild case of assault, do what I mentioned already. Explain these topics to them. Take an interest in their emotional well-being. Give them a space to learn things where they are safe instead of turning to other avenues. Or, don't. See how well that turns out.
I think most people who are critical of this just see it as a further moving away from the original George Lucas vision.
I don't really care about his vision. He made one good movie, and the best one in his franchise was directed by somebody else. He then decided that those movies weren't enough, and thoroughly ransacked them, because his vision told him it would be a good idea. I'm also not going to let prequels fans dictate to me what should and should not be in my Star Wars media. They can kick rocks.
Like not having people wearing glasses in Star Wars, which is a change I don't like, or leather jacket wearing Vespa gangs. That is a far bigger departure from what Star Wars should be than a assault scene.
Okay.
And it made me feel way more violated. But in reality, for me, George burning Anakin alive is a lot worse than throwing someone against a wall.
That might be the single most reasonable thing you've said all video.
The biggest problem with all of this, and the most amazing part, is that Disney fueled all this by deciding to release an interview with the director and another one with the actress that both highlighted the rape scene. All the goodwill that Andor was carrying into this season, trying to get people to give it a go, was just swept away the first day with the worst promotional headlines possible.
Almost 100 million more minutes viewed, highest viewed show of May, led to the highest viewed film of May, also holds the record for most episodes with a 9.5 or higher rating on IMDb. What are you smoking, and can I have some?
What on God's green earth were they thinking? Millions of fans have given up on Star Wars because of the way it has been handled.
Yes, because a lot of those fans thought the majority of these shows sucked and didn't want to waste their time with a franchise that has been burning since 1999.
A lot of them would have heard that even though the first season was slow, Andor was far better than anything else Disney has produced. And then, on the day the season starts, all the headlines are about how Disney finally brought sexual assault to Star Wars. Just what the parents wanted.
This is a nothing argument and is just being said to waste time and fill up space. Move the fuck on.
What were they thinking? Andor flies in to save the day. Well, mostly save the day. His friend Brasso cops it, which is a shame. I liked Brasso.
I actually don't believe you. Not even for a second. I doubt you'd even be able to explain why Brasso is a good character that deserves to be appreciated, especially since you seem to think his setting is nothing more than a Zack Snyder ripoff.
And they fly off for their next adventure. And of course, more Disney Princess Wedding. Not exactly the dream star for Andor Season 2.
I disagree. I think Act 1, despite a few hiccups, is a pretty strong start to the season that does a superb job at reintroducing our characters, setting up future plot points and conflicts while maintaining many of the themes regarding liberation, sacrifice, and loyalty that will all serve an important role in the future. This Pawnee goddess also sold 23 boxes of white chocolate chip cookies in the time it's taken me to get through the rest of this video.
The biggest problem with Season 1 was that it needed good edit. The season was way too dragged out.
Again, I really need the folks at home to understand this. He dropped out during episode 4 of Season 1. He didn't even get to see the climax of the heist on Aldhani, and he never saw Narkina 5. His arguments for why the show was slow were a combination of incorrect and inconsistent, considering what he thinks is good Star Wars media. And if you are new to this channel and haven't seen my video covering his take on the first season, then please go and check it out when you can. I enjoyed making it quite a bit, and I'm very proud with how it turned out.
So starting with 3 episodes that already feel like they could have been cut doesn't seem like the wisest choice.
Okay. We get the idea.
I like how you edited the exact correct response to that opinion in your own video. I didn't even need to do anything.
Hopefully, and from what we're hearing, the next 3 episodes are better. I mean, they couldn't be worse, could they?
The next 3 episodes could have been 10 out of 10 masterpieces with excellent drama, character, and story writing, but you would have complained if a woman was shown talking down to a man. Oh wait, shit, that's a spoiler for things to come. This video was an abysmal mess that you unfortunately felt the need to upload twice. Dog shit opinions, horrible suggestions for edits and redrafts, and just vapid, useless criticisms that aren't worth acknowledging, let alone debating. But unfortunately, there is more.
They did it. They finally did it. They finally did something in Andor. They finally got the season to a level that you would expect from a $645 million TV show.
Aldhani is right there. Narkina 5 is right there. This is the kind of comment you expect from someone who doesn't acknowledge any of the work that was put into the show to get us to this point. It's quintessential tourism. You hopped onto a trend and decided to comment on the state of the show when it blew up. That's all this is. It's yapping.
And it made me very happy. I slept well. I rose the next day, feeling quite happy to talk about Star Wars again.
Is that what these gunk broadcasts are supposed to be? Just talking? Just asking questions? Usually when people talk about things, they typically would discuss them with a level of proficiency so as to contribute something meaningful to the discussion. You didn't do that. You will continue to not do that. Could you please go back to sleep?
Now, you might not have noticed, but I've had some issues with Disney Star Wars over the years.
He's going to mention TLJ again, isn't he?
You're fucking kidding me.
Yeah, of course, because that's all they have. That's the thing that made them popular in the first place. Everything always comes back to TLJ, because what else is there? It's not even reflective of the current state of Star Wars anymore. We've moved on to new and exciting problems that these goblin creatures keep eating up and expecting us to enjoy with them. I mentioned the IMDb ratings earlier, and a few of you may be aware of them as well. Andor at this point in time has the record for most episodes with a 9.5 or higher rating in a row on IMDb, which is a gigantic accomplishment. However, not a single one of these fantastic episodes holds the title of highest rated Star Wars live action episode. That would go to The Rescue, the finale of Mando Season 2. And the only reason that episode is as high as it is because of the Luke cameo. The episode, as a whole, as to be expected, is fucking terrible. Not like the cameo was much better, but because people who stopped their emotional maturing at the ripe age of 12 saw this cameo, they couldn't help but pog react the moment they saw it. If this episode received even a 10 1/10 of the hatred that TLJ received, something tells me we would not have gotten stuck with shit like Obi-Wan Kenobi or Ahsoka, because why else would you make those shows if not to cater to the same people who liked this mess? Maybe that's not true, but a squirrel can dream.
Mostly because it was complete garbage, made by morons for morons. But with Andor Season 2, we were promised by Disney that this was going to be the greatest show ever seen by man. And, more importantly, I'd been told by someone that had seen the whole series that it was actually quite good. So, I was surprised with the very slow first 3 episodes.
I just can't believe you when you say shit like that. You abandoned Season 1. You only ever refer to the show as something no one asked for. Boring and slow. You constantly mock the main character because his actor is uncharismatic and wooden. You claim that the show isn't catering to Star Wars fans. So like, why would I hear you say this and have any other reaction that isn't just disbelief?
That made us endure a 3-day wedding. Here is a wonderful video explaining in the funniest way possible my issues with the first 3 episodes.
A video that you uploaded twice without realizing that Cassian wasn't literally saying he was upside down in space for 2 days.
But I persisted with the next 3 episodes as I had heard that the series improved greatly as it went along. Well, the next 3 episodes weren't much of an improvement on the first 3.
Let's play a little game here. I'm going to show you a few options on screen, and I want you to pick what you think is the most likely reason for why he thinks episode 4 through 6 is not an improvement on episode 1 through 3. Don't think too hard about it, you'd probably be right. Giving you a few more seconds to decide. Feel free to pause if you need to. How's your day going, by the way? Been good? Mine's been pretty awful, actually. Kinda cold down here. And spending my time making this, while fun, kinda dragged a bit. Oh, time's up. Let's see what you all got.
A lot of angry women and useless men.
Don't what? Don't talk.
Congratulations to all the people who correctly guessed that the women were the issue. Can't imagine why you'd pick that answer out of anything else I listed.
In situations that weren't exactly thrilling.
You're taking her with you wherever you go for the rest of your useless life. Don't you look away from me.
I'm sorry.
She was a warrior. She was everything that you have daydreamed about.
She should really calm down, as it was her stupid plan that went to shit.
Alright gang, let's list down all of the issues with just this simple sentence. 1. He told a woman who had just lost the most important person in her life to calm down. 2. He blamed her for the plan going tits up despite her plan being quite well thought out. 3. He doesn't issue any blame to the man despite him doing the exact thing Val told him not to do, causing the death of Cinta as a result of him not listening to them. 4. He has this stupid little subtitle at the bottom as if to imply that the only time a woman should chastise a man is if they are married. Or maybe he's trying to imply that Val shouldn't care about Cinta as much as she does because they aren't married. It's a stupid thing to add either way. 5. I couldn't think of a 5th one to add here, but I like 5 as a number more than 4. Let's just say he called her stinky or something.
The other disappointment going from the first 3 episodes to the second set of episodes was how they handled the 1-year time skip.
Guys, you see, it was disappointing to him that a woman was shown chastising a man for doing something incredibly reckless and stupid. This has never happened in Andor before. This is something that's never happened in Star Wars before. It's actually just something that's never happened in media before. I'm of the opinion that if episode 4 and 5 of the OT were released today, these knuckle draggers wouldn't be able to survive Leia. There's actually no ways you can claim to be a fan of her at this point if this is the general attitude you have towards female characters in your show. I don't know if it's the culture war nonsense causing this, if it's him actually just being sexist, or if it's just the emotional maturity of a 12-year-old speaking through the face of a supposed adult. What I do know is that it's fucking annoying.
Going into this series, I thought it would be used in some interesting ways, but it just feels like it's getting used to hurry us up along to get us to the events of Rogue One.
Introducing Bix and Cassian as operatives of Luthen actively being used in espionage missions, showing how far Bix's trauma has affected her mental state and establishing the ways in which she can cope. Having Woman mature into a confident mechanic who specializes in an incredibly niche yet important field. showing Mon's political campaign as she tries vying for support while the Empire creates ever larger rifts between sectors, as well as showcasing how hard Gorman tries to keep the peace to avoid further intergalactic incidents, letting us know that Luthen and Claire have bugged Skolden's office to keep tabs on him for any information that could prove useful, while also establishing that Luthen and Claire have spread themselves too far and too thin, that this is too much work for them to do alone. This then plays into the idea of Yavin being important, since these two have created a situation where significantly more people need to become involved in the rebellion. You also set up the Gorman protests while showing us their decline over the year that Cyril spends with them. Oh fuck, I didn't even mention Cyril. He's already been established as a spy for the ISB on Gorman, feeding them intel and instigating acts of rebellion, all in the pursuit of finding outside agitators. At least that's the story Deidre and Partagas fed him to keep him on board. Yeah, I don't know, I feel like we get a lot done with the time skip as a device which drives the story. I wouldn't mind 5 seasons of the show, or even just 3. I think it would have helped smooth a few things over, and we would have had more time to spend with K2, so that's always cool. But yeah, in terms of what we got, it's pretty good. We aren't rushing things exactly either, because the setups that need to be made are being done efficiently, and we are spending more than enough time on them.
It probably worked a lot better in the original plan of doing 5 seasons, because we end up getting things like my favourite time skip revelation. That's that one of the characters spent the last year resting.
It's been a long year. I had to rest up for a while. Quite a while.
And yes, that she would tell us more about why she needed to rest in the future.
What happened? I'll tell you about it someday.
Oh shit, that won't be happening, will it?
Why exactly was this a funny revelation to you? What is so amusing to you about these characters? Are you going to make any sort of comment regarding their actions or dialogue? Are you going to even attempt to engage with the media you've been provided in any meaningful capacity? Wait, what am I saying? This is a Robothead video. Clarification, explanation, substance, insight, these are the tools that were used during a more civilized age. Right now, all we have is loud banging pots and pans for our discourse.
Anyhow, we were 6 episodes down and things were not looking good. I couldn't even bring myself to make a video on episodes 4, 5 and 6, as not enough had happened. And the thought of sitting down for another 3 hours to watch episodes 7, 8 and 9, well, that filled me with dread.
He just continues to be filtered by the media he consumes. I understand that this isn't a show for everyone. People who are not typically into slow burns with dialogue-heavy interactions, intrigue, mystery, political drama, they won't enjoy the show. But could you also avoid saying anything about it if you don't feel the need to engage with it in any proper fashion? Much like the first video, this is just putrid noise. There's nothing of value being said or done. You spend 13 minutes crapping on episode 1 through 3, and now you can't even spare 5 minutes to talk about 4 through 6? You offer nothing of value, so why bother?
But as I said, I had heard the show improved, so after a day of avoiding it, I finally sat down and watched episodes 7, 8 and 9. And to my shock, something happened. What the hell? People did things. The pace moved along. We got some action.
Ferrex, Aldani, Narkina 5, Space Battle, Ferrex again.
Cyril became a full character.
Cyril came to the realization that all of his decisions, his accomplishments, his pride, his ambition, his need for approval, his work ethic, everything was for naught. That he was directly responsible for the genociding of a people he came close to calling friends. And for what? So that his girlfriend and her boss could get a rock out of the ground? Cyril has always been a full character. Just because he actually manages to put his hands on people responsible for where he is in this current moment in time doesn't mean that this is the only time he has ever achieved anything. This arc is a direct result of his actions. Everything that has happened before this point has helped to facilitate these payoffs and outcomes. Stop it.
Even Diego Luna found another expression. Denise Goff's performance as Deidre was still one-dimensional and absolutely dreadful, but we can't have everything.
Yes, I am sure the experienced theatre actor regularly praised for her cold, malicious and calculating performances as one of the most sinister characters we have been shown on Star Wars up to this point, did absolutely dreadful. This is of course an opinion that is definitely worth listening to. Also, what the fuck do you mean one-dimensional? This arc showcases her at her most vulnerable emotionally. She is constantly second-guessing the decisions made by her superiors, goes out of her way to ensure that Cyril has a direct meeting with her without any interruptions, and eventually even breaks down in tears tears as the realization of what she just did settles before she attempts to put the cold, calculating facade back into place. It's an excellent example of showcasing how despite her attempts at being this stoic Imperial machine, at the end of the day, she is still human with human emotions. She can still feel sorrow, dread, joy, anger, fear, and has her own compulsive behaviors. It's a downright excellent performance as to be expected from a show with this level of quality and care. You are just blowing smoke out your own arse again.
And she interacts with Anton Lesser a lot, and he's a joy.
It's bad luck, Gorman.
Indeed. The tension between the three leads was exciting, with Cyril, yes, Cyril of all people, being a highlight. What is happening?
I think what happened was enough loud noises and explosions and blaster bolts were shown on screen to allow you the ability to pay attention to aspects of the show the vast majority of us already knew. You didn't have the spirit, but you got there in the end.
So what did happen? Well, it's as if they fixed all the problems that plagued the first 6 episodes and turned out what seems to be everyone's favourite episodes.
So in other words, they paid off all of the setup that was introduced not only in the first 6 episodes, but also the first season, allowing all of the built-up tension that was being collected over the last 3 years to finally explode into a massive, roaring display of Imperial violence and destruction. A big reason why these episodes are a lot of people's favourites is because of all the work that went into making these payoffs as remarkable as they were. You don't have a scene like Cyril and Cassian's confrontation without all of the scenes where Cyril fixated on catching him in Season 1. You don't have Cyril's explosion onto Daedra without the setup of him befriending the locals and becoming accustomed to their cultures. Your heart doesn't rip into shreds when you see Edie crying at the end of the episode if you don't have the accompanying material to make her sadness meaningful. Whatever you are going to say about the studios listening to what the fans want is just going to be hollow noise, because what you want doesn't matter.
It's funny. Asking for a quicker pace and more action in the series online resulted in being called too stupid to understand it because it's for adults.
You forgot childish. Too stupid and childish. That last part's important.
But once they filled those requests, these 3 episodes became everyone's favourites. It's as if we were right all along.
If your takeaway from this episode was that all that we needed to add to make them interesting was loud noises and explosions, you are in fact an idiot.
While watching the 3 current episodes, I had this weird sensation that I just couldn't explain. For the first time in years, I was looking forward to watching the next episode. Now, if this show had combined the events of the first 6 episodes into one and got to this point of the story a lot quicker, then I think that the audience would have responded a lot better.
There's a very specific line of thinking that I find to be appropriate here. A product that is made for everyone is made for no one. The reason why the show is doing as well as it is and has the reception that it does is because it doesn't do what audiences like you want. It's special precisely because of how different it is. If we had done what you want, we'd have a significantly worse product as a result. These moments wouldn't have had near enough the same impact they do now if we didn't have the required levels of build-up. Don't believe me? Then ask yourself a question. When's the last time you watched Rise of Skywalker? But that doesn't matter to you because you didn't pay attention to it in the first place. Because you are exactly as stupid and childish as all the comments claimed you were.
And I understand that this would be a different conversation if the sequel movies had been good.
Notice how whenever he has absolutely nothing to say, he brings up the only reason he is popular. It happens every time.
And the audience had not been driven away by shows like The Book of Boba Fett, Obi-Wan, and The Acolyte. But that's exactly what has happened.
I'm so glad I waited to make this instead of just jumping straight on it, because the numbers do not lie. Despite how terrible Star Wars has been, the show is doing really well. And that is due in large part to great word of mouth, something you helped to stifle with your first video. It's a big reason why I responded to you and many others like you in the first place, because people needed to know that your opinion was actually worthless and that the show was worth their investment.
So tightening up this series to bring back fans would have been a good move.
You're tired. It's too much. It's too hard.
So are these episodes perfect? Well, the Disney shills would tell you yes, but that's a bit extreme. Very few shows are perfect, and this ain't one of them.
No show is perfect. There will always be some sort of issue or fault. That's just the name of the game. And as someone who has actually seen Buffy the Vampire Slayer, I know for a fact that that show is not perfect.
There's nothing majorly wrong in these 3 episodes, but there's a few small complaints.
Yes, I'm sure there are, but I don't exactly want to listen to the guy who said episode 4 through 6 was worth skipping because women were shown talking.
For one, it repeats what other Disney Plus Star Wars shows have done and reduced what should have been a planet-sized takeover down to a town square shootout. This show handles that a lot better than Mando Season 3 did, where a supposed planet takeover was just fought in one small town.
Guys, This is important. Let's check it out.
Now, should we fail to find any alternatives, we will have to control Gorman with a hand firm enough to silence any resistance. And you've been selected to help plan for that possibility.
The drilling's easy. We can be up and running in a matter of weeks. It's the administration and security issues that are troubling.
We don't have a large presence on Gorman at the moment.
He's planned for that. We're building a new armory in Palmo.
Excuse me?
We're starting tomorrow.
Propaganda will only get you so far. You need a radical insurgency you can count on.
Count on for what?
You need Gorman rebels you can depend on to do the wrong thing. Director. There's reports coming in from the countryside. They're saying we've landed mining rigs.
You seem animated.
Rumors spread quickly these days.
Well, I'm sure Captain Kaido has his assets in position.
That's why I thought it urgent we speak. He's given orders to barricade the building.
I saw that. Seems a wise idea.
The mining equipment, already on site. Is that a story Director Krennic wants to be telling?
We're done with local rumors. The only story that matters is Gorman aggression. The threats. The inexplicable resistance to Imperial norms.
We can discuss this later.
It's too late already.
Please.
You're gonna tell me what this has really been about?
You're hurting me.
And you are going to tell me what the mining ships are doing here.
They're not.
There is an armada up there. They're already unloading in Gelnobi and Liqua. You couldn't even wait. Don't. You tell me it's a rumor, and I will throw you out that window.
Good.
To whom this planet is forever indebted.
I actually had something interesting pointed out to me by a friend. When you are jumping around between 12 different planets, there is only so much you can do to flesh out a planet beyond the scale. And there is only so much you can dedicate to them individually while still making them distinct from one another. Imagine how long we'd be here if we inspected more of the planet besides what was needed.
And this is meant to be more about invoking a right to justify the Empire's takeover of the planet, but it still did seem rather small.
If you know what the intention is, then why did you bother making the criticism, you fucking donkey?
Remember, $645 million.
That's the total amount that was spent on the show as a whole, which includes Season 1. Season 2 cost $290 million to make. A big reason the show is as expensive as it is because Tony insisted on creating real practical sets to be filmed on, as well as filming on location instead of the over-reliance on the volume used in shows like Mandalorian. Ferrix was a real, functional, fully constructed miniature city. Do you not see the amount of effort that was put into making Gorman as stunning as it is? We have real buildings, cafes, a giant statue, a courtyard for our cast to interact with. I don't even understand this issue since you've already acknowledged that the show looks expensive in all the right ways, and you mentioned this in both of your videos. Did you just forget?
We hear about activity at other locations, but we never do get far from the town square.
Why would we when all of our characters are situated in this location? It would be like watching the climax of Infinity War and wondering what was happening in Washington DC when there was no reason to go there. We know all that we need to know at this point in time. We don't need to see it because what's happening here is just happening everywhere. That's like the entire point of a lot of the drama. It's one of the main points of the farming subplot.
And it all does feel very Les Mis. We even get the singing.
5 years for what you did.
No, it's not that bad.
It wasn't bad at all.
Now, I know we are evoking the French resistance, but the clothing makes it look like we could just be in a World War II movie, and the made-up language that just sounds like bastardized French, the berets and the Paris buildings are all just a little bit too obvious. We get it. The French did this a few times.
This isn't a criticism, by the way. It's just more noise. Because if we really get into the nitty-gritty nature of this argument, then it doesn't come out looking great for the OT either. You should probably just accept that certain cultures and locals look a certain way in in this universe, which may be similar to cultures and customs we have on Earth. If not, then you may want to explain what the Sand People are supposed to be.
But apart from all that, the action, secondary characters, and pace were all very good. And out of the 3 episodes, I actually enjoyed episode 9 the most. A lot of that overly long build-up really did come together.
God, I fucking hate this video so much.
And Luthen as himself is always a relief. After the first 3 episodes, I can only take his flamboyant alter ego so much.
Oh dear, you found me.
Then just pay attention to the times he isn't being flamboyant in those scenes, you dimly lit wax candle.
But the big question, the biggest argument people have against this show, is it Star Wars? Or more accurately, does it feel like Star Wars?
For people who ask this question, I really want you all to go back and watch the OT. More specifically, I want you to watch A New Hope. And then I want you to watch Empire directly after that. And then tell me if you think they feel like the same film. Or are there a few changes made to the structure of the second film to give it its own unique feel to help separate it from the original film? I want you people to go back and watch the prequels and really think about them. Do they feel like what Star Wars was like in the 80s? Do they have that same grungy, messy, mechanical feeling to them? Or do they feel like films set 1,000 years before A New Hope instead of just 20 to 30? What Star Wars is so incredibly different depending on who you ask. No one has the correct answer to this question, not even George, especially since he tried answering that question like 3 or 4 more times. Because, much like DC or the MCU, Star Wars as a setting is capable of telling such a wide array of different stories with different aesthetics. Because if it didn't, if everything felt like the same shit every time something new came out, then what would be the point in consuming new Star Wars material? I've already seen Tatooine 30 times before. I don't need to see it 30 times more.
Well, that is a very personal opinion, and largely depends on age and which camp you land in. The original trilogy looked like nothing that had been seen before, and the simple story of good versus evil touched all generations. When the prequels came out, talking about trade embargoes, they may have looked impressive, but a lot of people felt that the magic from the original films was missing.
Oh, they won't!
The balance returned once Disney started making their garbage, because that's when a lot of us realised that the prequels weren't so bad after all.
The prequels are fucking terrible, and everyone pretending that they aren't just because the sequels are bad are coping horrendously. You people need to be bullied again.
Do it.
Andor doesn't possess that magical fantasy feeling of those original films, and to be fair, I'm pretty sure they ain't trying to recapture it. But even if they wanted to rekindle that feeling of the originals, how could they? That lightning in a bottle was captured between 1977 and 1983, which was a completely different time.
It's funny you say that because I think Andor is the closest we've had to that original trilogy in terms of presentation and vibe. That same grungy, mechanical feeling that was present in A New Hope and especially in Empire is here in spades. That tyrannical, oppressive feeling the Empire presented is here in spades. The Force is even treated with the same level of mysticism and spirituality that was taught to Luke by Obi-Wan and Yoda, removing all of that nonsense about bloodlines and midichlorians. The Force finally felt special again, and we didn't need George anywhere near it.
Even George Lucas couldn't recapture that feeling when he went back for more in the 90s. So as far as Star Wars goes, Andor is far better than anything else Disney has produced.
No, not just Disney. This is the best Star Wars has been since the original trilogy. I mean, I think it's significantly better than Return of the Jedi because a large chunk of that film actually does suck, but about on par with A New Hope and Empire. This is while also ignoring all the expanded material such as books, games, and comics. I haven't consumed a good chunk of them, so I can't say for certain, but I do have a sneaky suspicion that it is. Better, I mean.
Yes, it has removed the Jedi, the playfulness and the humour, but honestly, that is where Disney falls down the hardest.
Oh yeah, that's what I needed during my genocide scenes. A Wilhelm scream.
I'm the spy.
What? You?
Their version of the Jedi and the lightheartedness is bloody dreadful.
Man, you know what I should have done? I should have turned every reference he makes to TLJ in these videos into a drinking game, just to really hammer home how frequently he does it.
Maybe they should just stick to the Rebel story and stay right away from the Force and fantasy. At least that way they'll do less damage, and we might get something that is at least enjoyable to watch.
Anyone else getting this really weird vibe that he likes the scene of Cyril choking Dedra for reasons other than what it means for his character? Like, he's already ignored basically everything Cyril's done or said up to this point. It wouldn't be that far-fetched, would it?
Even if it doesn't feel like traditional Star Wars.
Tear the shit out of this place.
So, if you do want to jump straight to episode 7, which I would recommend...
No. Do not do that. This demented coffee machine is the boomer equivalent of those TikTok kids who need Subway Surfers on the side and Family Guy funny moments on the bottom in order to pay attention to what they are watching. If you are someone who hasn't seen the show and is genuinely curious to check it out, then you watch all of it. Episode 1, Season 1. I don't want to hear any buts or moans or complaints. You want peak Star Wars, then you will get it as long as you put in the work.
Just watch all the little recap sections at the start of episodes 1 to 6. They will tell you everything you need to know.
If you want to watch Return of the Jedi, but you've never seen Star Wars before, then just watch the trailers for the first 2 films. They will tell you everything you need to know.
This Chambers, hold on the truth, was finally lost on the Gorman Plaza.
So just a short video as people have been asking about these episodes. I'll most likely do a more in-depth video at the end of the season.
Good lord, could you imagine? If he does, then I might actually make that drinking game. We could add a counter for every time he mentions a woman speaking out against a man. It'll be great.
But for now, the big question, why did Bail Organa think it was important enough to reach out to Obi-Wan when his daughter went missing, but didn't bother contacting him when all this shit was going down?
Because the Kenobi show was fucking terrible, and the less we are reminded of that show, the better.
Thanks Obi-Wan show. You still reckon things.
That turgid telegenic tripe was painful, but at least it's over now. Robothead, you suck. These low-effort, demented, IQ moshpits you call videos is still the exact kind of thing I've come to expect from content like this. No substance to your arguments, bone-dry appeals to children and to traditional Star Wars fans for the sake of getting someone on your side. And just the most basic bitch potshots at TLJ because of course you would. You've continued the trend of proving how incredibly incompetent you are at judging media, and I genuinely hope you make that last Andor video. Despite the pain it causes me to sit and watch them, deconstructing them and pointing out the idiotic things you say does provide some level of catharsis. Thanks to you all for watching this, and I hope you enjoyed. That TASM video I promised back when the first video released will be coming out really soon, along with my thoughts on a bunch of other stuff. Till then, it's been your friendly neighborhood Shandy, telling you to brush your teeth and fix your sleep schedule. Good night.
You what?